stories, people, and businesses around your neighborhood. And, we got another opportunity to get a chance to have one of our local schools come in and be part of our guest. And today we want to welcome in Jeremy Riffle. He is the Triton superintendent. One of my favorites, as this guy really has done a great job in his tenure as superintendent over at Triton. Kids love him, and when you can make the connection as Jeremy does, bravo. Sounds like you had another great year, buddy, over there in Bourbon.
You know what? Just like most years, there's a lot of trials, and but really our job is to navigate kids through those and staff through those, and so it has been a successful year. Seems like sometimes the days go slow, but the weeks go fast.
Yeah.
And so you look back and think we only have 2 days left is just absolutely crazy. So it's been good.
Your last day of school is what?
We are done Friday. So finishing up before Memorial Day. Yep.
What's your graduating class this year?
We're, I think, right at 56, I think is the exact number. So just trying to get every one of those, caught up and across the stage and trying to get that 100% graduation rate.
You guys are like on the cusp of 100%
Yep.
graduation.
Yeah, there's always those few we have to really motivate to get across the line, right? Just like there always is. But yeah, they're working hard to finish up classes and make sure that they're
if you
good to go.
90%, that's a great year. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, the way today's kids are, it's tough to teach. It's tough it's tough to get them motivated when so much is happening around them, and sometimes it's tough to navigate the negativity that happens in a student's life. It's even tough to navigate the successes.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the educational component part of it, and it's a lot of drain.
Yeah.
And as well as I do as an educator, trying to get that all manipulated as a teenager and trying to figure out how you're going to handle these situations from social to the educational part and so on and so forth.
Yep.
I mean, you got a bunch of seniors right now that are getting ready to make a huge life change.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And I think just the anxiousness of what summer brings, let alone what life brings, right? For some of our kids, but these seniors that are taking the next step, whether that's going into a job or going to college. And the teachers feel an increased burden to make that as easy of a transition as possible. And quite frankly, you can open up a lot of doors, but they have to be willing to take a step through that. Luckily, we have the largest majority of the kids ready to do that, but we do have some that are carrying a lot of burdens. It makes that even more difficult. But I think we're gonna accomplish it. But it's not because there hasn't been a ton of hard work going into those kiddos. So pretty proud of our staff.
And let's talk about that, because Jim White was just in here the other day talking about how things went at Bremen in the school system this year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask the same question, but back to the talking about the burdens and the stresses and stuff. Your teaching staff second to none. Yep. And we talked about the job title as teacher is now taking on more than just educating.
Absolutely.
There's a parental role now in it. There's a psychologist role in this now. But it's and then there's the relationship part of it. I think where you guys have continually gotten better at it is that relationship component. Not just from the teachers, but your other administrators and the guidance department especially, and so on and so forth. You can go on down the line. It's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys pull it off year after year over in Bourbon. Just is it's impressive.
When kids are obviously on our campus, we are what they call in loco parentes, right? We are in the role of the parent, and I know sometimes that we are not their parents, but in the end, just like you're saying, like that emotional support, we need to be the encourager. We also need to be the one to hold them accountable, and that is a tricky dance with our kids these days. But I will tell you, to your point, just last Monday night, we had a near tragedy within our school corporation, right? And not a lot of people know about that. But in the end, I'm sitting there at Monday night at a hospital in South Bend with 3 of our administrators and our SRO, right, who took that evening to say, you know what, this kid's important to us, and we're going to be here. And so it does take that extra effort. We talked about being steadfast this year. That was our word, so to speak, of just whether we're tired, whether we're frustrated, we're going to be steadfast for these kids. And let's be honest, like our staff has their own burdens, right? Our people have their own burdens, just like you and I have. We have our own burdens. And so setting those aside sometimes, probably putting that backpack on at the end of a day, but while we're engaged with kids, just trying to do everything we can to just invest in their lives. Just like our teachers had burdens, right? We never knew about that. I don't remember ever thinking that, name a teacher that I had that, that they had life outside of us.
They didn't show it.
They didn't. Yeah. They didn't. And
we were priority.
Yeah. And so just trying to continue that and invest in them. And honestly, this time of year, teachers are tired. Mm-hmm. They've given everything they have and they deserve a break. But in the end, like, we'll renew and we'll commit to do it again next year, And so it's worth it. It's worth it for our community. It's worth it for our world, and just trying to grow leaders.
You guys, you mentioned a moment ago about your school corporation has gone through a lot of tragedies.
Yeah.
But you've also been able to be there for near tragedies, like you just mentioned a little bit ago.
Sure.
And I hate saying this, but the experience that your administration, i.e. you and your teachers and your guidance personnel, it's almost like you're learning to be even better at connecting with families, with friends of those families. And I hate saying there's a blessing behind that, because that doesn't sound like a blessing when all these incidents happen. But it's made, I feel, it's made this corporation stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's tough, and we don't ask for another. No. But in the end, we have been through that, and honestly, this one caught us off guard because, like, we just didn't see it coming, right? And that's what happens with whether that's an accident or emergency. You don't see that happening, but it does renew our commitment to trying to be better at that. So, admittedly, on this end of the microphone, like, we can get better at it, right? Mm-hmm. We missed an opportunity probably, and we don't really know why or how. A lot of questions still being asked, but in the end, it does renew your questions to say, well, how can we get better at making sure we're connecting with those kids on deeper levels and not just feeling as if we're okay, right? So, but yeah, it's been tough. Unfortunately, we kind of know the processes in which we need to step up and have certain people within our buildings on the day after or whatever that is. But and a lot of that is just making sure trusted people are there, that we know that their message is going to be clear and concise and in a not a self-gratifying reason for being there, but a true heart for the kids and what they're going through at that time.
Well, it's been noticed. And so, and I don't know if anybody's told you that, but, obviously when something happens to a child, everybody knows and they want to step in and they want to help. And that has been no different than what the town of Bourbon has done in the many fortunate situations you guys have been put in. And I feel, in talking with some of the folks, that all it's done is strengthen their commitment to help the school corporation out.
Sure.
And man, if that doesn't scream success, I don't know what does. But the fact of the matter is, they know what you're doing. Then they're seeing the commitment that you guys are making to try to do the little things in tough situations, to be there, most notably, number one, for your kids.
Yeah.
And sometimes, Jeremy, I know it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be perfect. It never is, because each situation is always a different situation, it seems like. But by God, you're there.
Yeah.
And your staff is there. And at least I don't feel, in talking with a few of your staff members over the many years, is the fact that you're not there just to be there. You're there because you want to be there, helping.
Yeah.
And so I know this. Listen, I'm a believer. I'm very spiritual about things, but things happen for a reason, and sometimes you're going to get pushed. You're going to get pushed to your limit, and yet here we are talking about, once again, your staff and administration being there for somebody who had an unfortunate thing happen to them.
Yeah,
and sometimes you just are thankful if you're the victim of this and the victim's family. That's really all they need. They just they will appreciate it. You guys grieve with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people don't know that about what everything that you guys have had to go through over the few years. And man, that just speaks volume for the people. And if I'm a parent of the Triton School Corporation, I want to take my kid there.
Yeah. The doors are open. We want you.
I'm just saying, and I don't mean that to be as a promoter of that. It's just, listen, your experience tells the story.
Yeah. There's obviously, through a situation, there's a lot of empathy, but I say a lot, where there's trust, there's efficiency. Where there's a lack of trust, there's inefficiency. And I do feel like administratively and teacher wise, you're not always going to agree with, state mandates or legislation, or even how we deal with a kid when it comes to discipline. But in the end, like, if we understand that we're all coming from a heart of wanting that kid to be better, or wanting our school to be better, it's a lot easier to swallow. Again, you say it, and we've had a lot of people over the last 3 or 4 weeks say, hey, we think we want to make Triton our kids' home for education. And that's always very satisfying and gratifying to say, okay, people maybe aren't noticing what's happening. But in the end, we do have to continue to come back to say, you know what? We're not perfect. There's things that go on that we don't like, or there's things that we have to manage, right? And we take pride in how we've managed those, but in the end, like, you never know what the next thing's going to be.
Right.
And so, but it's, I sent a message to the family that we're kind of in some way, shape, or form talking about, and it says, you'll get through this. It won't be painless. It won't be quick, but with God will use this mess for good. In the meantime, don't be foolish and naive, but don't despair either. With God's help, you'll get through this.
Amen.
Right? And so talking to that and that faith piece and just a greater purpose of just, investing in kiddos, like, it is an opportunity, right?
It is.
And I truly believe that things happen, unfortunately, all for a reason. And so it does provide opportunities to just say, like, man, you have a platform now to impact a lot of people. So good or bad, right? That can go one way or the other, just like it could have before. But
it's noticed, like I said, it's noticed, and how would you not, as a parent, not notice that and say, okay, you know what? I feel safe giving my child over to this school system. And I mean, that's really what it's all about. And every school does it. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Today we're talking about Bourbon because
we are blessed with a lot of great schools.
We are,
honestly.
But at the same time, your situations are public. Sure. And unfortunately, so have been the tragedies, from tragedies to thank God your kids, your kids end up being okay. Yeah. But everybody's involved. Yeah. And that's noticeable.
We love that limelight in athletics, right? But in the end, it's
about the kid.
Yeah. We love people knowing everything that's happening and encouraging us during that time. But life still does happen, and we're supposed to be there then too.
Well, and so to kind of further our discussion on this particular year, what are some of the highlights we can talk about?
So really positive. We have Avery Veers headed to state for track and field. So shot put and discus did a great job in regionals. We have 6 young men competing at regional, I believe in the next day or two. We just went through academic awards, CTE awards. So it's a great time to just recognize those kids that truly make education a priority. We gave $50,000 more this year in scholarships than we did last year.
Great.
Once again, a learning opportunity. We hooked up with the Marshall County Community Foundation. They went through a new portal, and once again, unintended consequences sometimes of getting bigger and more is losing that personal touch. And you know what? We learned something. And so we have had to make some phone calls and just go back and say, you know what? we apologize how that went, or you weren't communicated well enough with. But in the end, like the end of that is kids are getting a lot of money to go on to college and graduating our school with a lot of credits, and not even having to take their freshman year of college. So graduating in 3 years.
That's
so
awesome.
So seeing a lot of those things. A really positive thing that we're just coming off of, you may have heard a little bit about it, is the Triton Student Life Foundation. We just had our first gala on April 6th, and had multiple speakers come in that were alumni, but also very successful in what they're doing today. Raised over $75,000 for students that walk our halls, for the initiatives that you mentioned, the counselors earlier, that have started with, whether that's Dream Days or whether that's our Triton Gives Back Day. All of those things cost money, right? Programs cost money, and we want to remove the barriers from our kids of having to pay for field trips.
Or do fundraising and stuff like
absolutely.
that. Absolutely.
And so $75,000, Connie Limler is our president. So, you know, Connie, Kevin Boyer is on that board as well, to just continue to try to bless our kids while they're in our care, because we're starting to take care of the scholarship piece of that. So we felt like, hey, let's continue to keep these programs moving and not put so much burden on our community and our kids. So just a lot of great things happening. I can't go without talking about the Career Innovation Center that's happening right here in Marshall County. Allie Shook leading Lifelong Learning Network to giving kids of Marshall County, so all kids of Marshall County, the opportunity to invest in their careers, get certifications, those type of things, and add to their portfolio of really trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up, right? And get a better understanding of what the opportunities are that are out there. And that's going to be right, you know, centrally located in our county at Plymouth. So we're excited about that, and that's going to be some good stuff coming our way. So super excited about that.
You know, you're, and I guess this just wouldn't be an interview with you if I didn't get on my pulpit about your Triton Gives Back, because it's one of the greatest programs that gives back to the community that I know of. Your entire school's elementary on up to the high school. Your participation level with that is phenomenal. It's a requirement for kids to get out there and give back to the community, whether it's cleaning up a park, to simply
making dog
about
treats,
a business, helping out Operation Quiet Comfort.
Yep.
I mean, my gosh, there's a list and list of the benefits Marshall County gets out of this. You know, some locations are in a different school corporation, and here you guys are helping out. You know, I mean. This is a Trojan thing. Don't get me wrong. It's a Triton thing, but you know it's not something you guys have put a stamp of we can only do this kind of thing. And how schools are not doing more of this is beyond me. You guys have obviously dotted your I's and crossed your T's. You've answered the legal aspects of it. I just wish this was done more by area schools, and I will tell you that it would be an exceptional, what's the word? Well, I say PR, but I mean, the fact of the matter is it gives a lot of hope to folks who kind of, think that the future's not looking bright. And you guys dispel that. And it's amazing to watch year in and year out how successful you are with Triton Gives Back.
Yeah, it is an awesome opportunity. I will tell you, it's a lot of work too. And to answer your question of why probably it's not duplicated more places is our counselors. Once again, going back to just that awesome team, and or the teachers that buy in. You talk about participation. It's 100% of our teachers, 100% of our kids, 100% of our support staff, our bus drivers. Take the work off. Off work that day to drive bus to our kids all the way up to Cultivate.
Everybody's all in.
And you know what? There's again not perfect. There's times when that becomes burdensome, or they feel like, hey, maybe we could have done something else with that time. But really, like, what's the purpose of that? First of all, is to live out the Trojan way, which is thinking of others over self, right? So that's number one. But in the end, what a great opportunity for our kids to give back to all the people that have given to them, and to see the gratitude that brings within, right? Once again, not self-centered, not a self-centered purpose, but what it looks like to give to somebody else and to see how that lifts their day. So, yeah, it's a great thing, and it continues to grow.
The whole time is a teaching moment.
It is.
The
Oh, absolutely.
whole
Absolutely.
time
Yep.
is a teaching moment. Sure, it gets the kids out of school who want to. Otherwise, normally you have kids who stay on school grounds and help out the janitors and stuff.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. I cannot find one negative thing about this program that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody. And I'm glad that you guys are kind of reaping the benefits of it since other schools haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
You know, keep shining the light because there's a great life message about what your entire school. There's only I don't even think there's anybody that denies going to do this because they've enjoyed being part of making a difference, if not just for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like I said, I just think it's one of the, and I hope the state of Indiana, I hope have you ever promoted this to the state? Well, you should.
Okay.
And if I need to lead the charge on it, by God, I will.
All right.
Because it is a difference maker in our communities.
I agree.
All over the county.
I agree.
Not just in Bourbon, but throughout the county. And I think Triton School Corporation needs a huge pat on the back. You know, I know you don't do it for the pat on the back, but by gosh, I believe about being Gabriel's horn when it comes to people doing things for other people, making a difference. That's life. If you are going to be successful in life, you have to do that.
Right.
At some point in time, you have to be part of that. And you will find out you do get gratification personally by helping out others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of these kids never have a chance to do that.
Yep.
Until that day.
Yeah, unapologetically, like we're trying to build character. We talked a little bit about JP and joking around and that type of thing, but just high character individuals that are going to impact their communities for a lifetime. And
JP will be one of them.
And he will. Yeah. He will. So he'll work through the high school stuff. He'll go to college. He'll grow up, and he's going to be a really good dad, right? Yeah. He's going to be a really good employee, just like we all had to, right? At 18, like we don't know what life was going to bring us, but if we have a foundation, right, which we're trying to talk through with leadership councils and Triton Gives Back and some of those programs that, there's a bright future. And if we look hard enough, we really do have some great kids that are going to make an impact on our community.
Well, I hope every business gets a chance to have a JP.
Good kid.
He's on time. Walks through the door. He's on time. Yep. He takes the guff from us, but he's going to have a good
building a little resilience. Aren't you?
Well, you have to sometimes. Well, because you work with all kinds of people in your life, you're going to work with all kinds of people.
Yep.
And here he's going to do just fine when it comes into sales if that's what he want to continue to do. He's proven all of that. And like I said, I've not had one bad intern from Triton School Corporation.
It's awesome to hear.
Not one. I loved them both. I love them all, actually. We've had, 4 or 5 now in the last 5 years. And here's how you know when you can make a difference, which kind of goes back to your Give Back Day. Every intern that I've had at some point in time from Triton School has come back to say hi.
That's great.
Just say hi.
Yeah. Kind of a way of saying thank you to you. Yeah.
Well, and it does me as a business person to say that's what you want. You want people who respect you. You want people, and I'm not telling you listeners anything different here. You know this. You want it in your life too. When you get a no sir or a yes ma'am or whatever, I'm not that. No, don't you have to say yes, sir? I don't think I've ever have reached in my 54 years a sir mentality, or sir status, I should say. But you know what? They appreciate you, and they show it. Yeah. And so that's why, and again, I've had great interns, others from other schools, and they've been great. But there's something about the Trojan way when the kids come from the Triton School Corporation. To me, that's how you know you're doing things right. So that's a kudos to your administration,
absolutely,
and how things are to go. You do it with respect, and we just JP has been one of the greatest kids I've got to know. It's
good,
and
dude.
of course, he's also been raised by two really good parents.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of your kids over there.
Yep.
And that makes a difference too.
Yeah, we just had sixth grade graduation yesterday. Graduation, we don't call it recognition, right? Because it's not a graduation, but to see the parents, I took a second and I kind of had that flashback from COVID, right? Of like, man, we dreamed of this moment when our gym would be full of parents to recognize kids. And it was great. They lined the halls as they're making their way over to the junior high, and it was really good to see parents involved, knowing some backstories and just saying, you know what, it took effort for that parent to come and be with their kid, but it did. So we posted about it yesterday. It was so good to see the parents, here for this special occasion. We don't do a real great job in maybe our society of celebration of those monuments, right?
So agree.
Yeah, and so just like, when did you know you were a man, right? I don't know that I know, but we talk about, there's actually a book called Modern Medieval Knights, because in chivalry, they always knew, like, I'm taking the next step. I'm taking the next step. I'm an apprentice right now, or now I'm a knight. And so we need to do a better job in our society with our own kids of like marking those times of
celebrating when you do it right.
Right. Yeah. And just saying, you know what, like, you're a man now, or you're a woman, and it's go get them.
You've done it.
Go get them. Yeah.
Keep it up.
You have what it takes, and go to town. So,
I know I got to let you go, but anything else this year that really we can share that as the renovation's good? Are you finally done with all the renovations?
Yeah, we have a new bond that's coming up, but honestly, it's a general operating. It's going to be taking care of all those maybe proactive things, some new sidewalks, some just making some things more efficient, possibly going to move our softball field to make that a little bit more efficient for making more of a complex versus like being spread out all over campus. But just looking at those things that says, you know what, we don't even have huge projects right now, but we can make things better within maybe a roof project. So just making sure we're keeping it dry and keeping it cool in there for our kids to be able to make a lot of progress. So,
well, you've come a long way, baby. I'm telling you that much. Yep. There's been a lot of work to get to where your school's at right now, and it's been very impressive to watch.
I appreciate it.
You got nothing but better days ahead, so that's great. And
thanks, Tony.
I appreciate you coming in, and it's been always great
a pleasure
having you in. You've been more than gracious enough to give us your time to talk about what happens at a school corporation with their kids. And you've always been transparent with us too. And you have a successful school system when you have a leader who is willing to be transparent, honest, wanting to make a connection, and reminding the parents that we do care about your kid.
Absolutely.
They're a priority. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And we want you to know that too. It's a work though.
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
lots and lots and lots of work every year.
Yep, it is.
But you don't come in here complaining or moaning about doing it. None of your administrations have been able to do, or administrators have done all that.
Yep.
So you guys work.
Yep.
You work trying to make things better, and that's all you can do to be successful. So your number's going to still continue to rise.
I hope so.
will tell you that because once people continue to understand what you do and how you outreach, sometimes that's just better than what you get in a book.
Yep.
And you understand that.
Absolutely.
And so we appreciate your time as always, my friend.
Appreciate
you. And have a great summer.
Will do.
Anytime you need to come in, you just let us know.
All right. I'd love to do it more often.
All right. There he is.
Thanks,
Jeremy
Tony.
Riffle. He is the superintendent of schools at Triton Corporation. When we come back, we wrap things up here for this Thursday, May 23rd.